Ghost in the Night with Phil Sams.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Ghost in the Night, a hauntings and paranormal podcast. I've been away for a while here lately. Haven't been doing a lot of recording, just for the mere fact things have been crazy. So this episode, I just want to I do have two topics I want to talk about, but I want to kind of give everybody an update on where we're at with the podcast, what is coming up in the future. And then once I do that, I'm going to dive in a little into scratches. I get a lot of comments about people getting scratched, having issues about it. And, I try to respond to most of them, but I thought I've talked about it many times on the podcast, but I just wanted to kind of go over it once again, give my thoughts, give my opinions, what I think, and maybe what you should do if you are experiencing such a thing like this. Because this phenomenon is very common, especially with people dealing with the paranormal or some kind of supernatural being, entity, or whatever, or it just could be a rational explanation for it. So we're going to get into that, and I do want to talk a little bit about realms and DMT and what that means for the paranormal, because that is something that has been on my mind a lot here lately, and I've given it a lot of thought, and I just want to kind of go over my thoughts on that. So what's going on with the podcast? I want to branch out a little bit. Like I said, I'm going to get back to recording on Sundays and release the podcast on Monday. I'm going to start doing that recording session live. If you've followed the podcast in the past, you know that I used to do it live on Facebook on Sunday evenings about 8 o'clock. That was a little bit of a late start, I think, for a lot of people. So I'm going to bump that up to 6 o'clock. So on 6 o'clock on Sundays, I'm going to record Monday's podcast live, and that is going to hopefully be an every Sunday thing from now on. Now, I might throw in an episode, like an On the Hunt episode or something throughout the week, try to get a little bit more content going on per week. But every Sunday, I want to record a live podcast via Facebook for right now. Now, I've always done it on Facebook, but I might change that to maybe YouTube. I don't quite know yet. I'm kind of up in the air. But I will let you know which way we're going to go with that, because that is something I just want to get the best bang for the buck, essentially. And get the most interaction, because that's the fun part about doing live streams. When I record this podcast, I am able to see a little of the interaction, the comments, and people talking in the comment section, and I can address a question and things such as that. But so that's going to, like I said, I'm going to try to do that every Sunday at 6 o'clock. Now, this upcoming Sunday is going to be the first one of that. Now, I have a special guest coming into the studio, actually, and it's going to be very fun. A buddy of mine, we got to talking, having a few beers and talking, and he never knew I did this, and he has a fascination with the paranormal and supernatural and things such as that. So he's going to come in, and if things go well, I think they will. I know they will. I'm hoping he's going to be here every Sunday for those live recordings of the podcast episodes. It'll be fun, and plus it'll break up the monotony of just me flapping my gums to you guys. And frankly, not that I've lost a passion for it, but it's kind of hard for me to do it week in and week out, just talking to a microphone, talking to you to the camera. If I can bring somebody in that is knowledgeable, has a passion for it, enjoys it, and maybe get a little bit more of a conversation going and discussing things, get somebody else's opinion, because I'm not always right. I have my opinions, but it doesn't mean that I'm right. And I've said this a million times. There is no such thing as a paranormal expert. We are taking a guess here. We do not know what the hell is going on. There's so much we don't know. We are just making guesses. And in some cases, it's an educated guess, but it's still just a guess when you strip away everything. So that, I think, will add a great dimension to the podcast. So be on the lookout for that every Sunday. I think it's gonna be good. I think it'll be more entertaining for you than just listening to my monotone ass ramble on for 45 minutes to an hour. So I'm really excited about this. It should be a lot of fun. I think you guys are gonna really enjoy it, and we're gonna cover a vast amount of topics in regards to the paranormal, but we might branch out a little bit and just kind of shoot the shit on just about anything, really. And there's going to be one more aspect to this. Now, I do have a Patreon page. Let's face it, I don't really, in the past, I haven't really worked that hard. I put all the episodes up. I'm going to rework the tiers a little bit. Right now, I believe there's a $2 tier and a $5 tier. I'm going to rework that and really put more of a conscious effort on the Patreon and giving you guys even extra material, because Sundays on the live streams, we're going to live stream for 45 minutes to an hour the actual podcast episode that will be out on Monday, maybe even Sunday night, depending on how I feel. But most likely on Mondays, that will be released on the RSS feed, and everybody will be able to hear it however you take in the podcast, and it will probably be up on a YouTube video on Monday as well, possibly Tuesday, with downloading, depending on YouTube's speediness of their downloading or uploading, being able to upload. But we are going to keep recording. We are going to go past that. And after the live stream's over, after the podcast is over, we are just going to shoot the shit and have a good time and talk about anything. Continue the conversation of the topic at hand from the episode we just recorded, but we're going to just kind of let loose and have a good time. And we are going to record that just as a bonus, and that will be for Patreons only. So be on the lookout for that. And if you want access to that, go to the Patreon page, Ghost in the Night, and become a subscriber. But don't just do it yet. This weekend, by Sunday, I'll have the tiers all worked out, and we will be running with that. And every Sunday, we're going to do a little extra stuff, and hopefully things will pick up with the investigation side of things, and I'll be able to get out more, since things are kind of calming down out in the world right now. Not completely, but things are getting better, and hopefully we can get out and do a little bit more investigation. So there will be some more on the hunt episodes for release on the podcast feed, but also there will be some extra bonus stuff, investigation stuff going on. So that is what is going on with the podcast. I am excited about it. I'm looking forward to the interaction. I love the guy to death. He's awesome, and he's fun, and it's going to add a great dimension to the podcast. It's going to make it 10 times better. Not even 10, 100 times better. So I'm really looking forward to it. I know you will too. I hope everybody has enjoyed the switch to the new podcast host. There is an episode that's actually 2 episodes that did not get brought over. I'm going to hopefully this afternoon even get those back up and running, or get those back on the feed. So there, maybe by the end of today, there will be a couple new episodes on the feed that you can take a listen to and enjoy. But let's go ahead and take a break. And then when we come back, I'm going to talk about scratches, kind of give them, once again, go over that again. And then I'm going to talk about realms, what I really think the paranormal is. What role does DMT and some of these hallucinogen drugs like mushrooms and things, what role does that play in the paranormal? Because there is a faction of people that believe that DMT opens the veil. And I think that's a fascinating topic, and I want to discuss that. I haven't researched it a lot. I'm going to research it a lot more, and hopefully we will cover it in an upcoming episode in the future. So let's go ahead and take that break, and we'll be right back. Alrighty, we are back. Now, like I said in the opening of this podcast, I get a lot of comments, emails about demonic scratches. Now, if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, which you should, please go subscribe, like, and all that happy shit. My most popular episode, if I could speak, that would be even freaking better. My most popular episode is demonic scratches. I have 2 episodes on it where And these were scratches that, if you haven't heard those or or watched those videos or listened to that podcast, I actually got scratched. 3 scratches, the traditional 3 scratches, which we've all seen on these paranormal reality horseshit shows. It happened to me at my own home where I used to live 2 homes ago, really. A couple years ago, maybe 2. It happened to me, and I didn't know what it was. I had activity at that house, and I got scratched. I know it wasn't my dog because I have a little chihuahua, and trust me, they were spaced out. Either she scratched me with both paws at the same time, and I didn't realize it or didn't notice it, which I strongly, highly doubt. But my leg started burning, and on my kind of calf on this side of my leg started burning when I got home from work. And sure enough, I looked down, and 3 scratches were starting to form. That was the first one. The second time, I was up visiting my mother in their home where she had recently moved and got remarried. I was up visiting them, and happened again. Now they have activity in that house as well, which is, it's hit and miss. There's might be something going on there. We don't know. Haven't really talked about it too much, but there might be some good activity going on in that house as well. I got scratched there too. Wasn't nearly as bad. Now, it happened a third time here recently that I haven't talked about, haven't done any videos, haven't shared with only one other person and it happened at an actual investigation. And the last investigation that I did went on at that private residence down in Kentucky. I did release, I talked about a little bit on the past episodes, I believe, but I got scratched there too. And I did not notice this at first. That investigation kind of got a little crazy. The reports of activity is astonishing. There's a lot of activity going on there. We, like I said in the podcast where I talked about it, we just kind of went in there to feel it out. Really wasn't a full investigation. Now, they have investigated again since, and I did not go back because something came up and I could not make it. But it got crazy. That investigation as well, from when I talked to him about it. But that first investigation, we had some weird things happening, and it seems like maybe whatever entity or whatever spirit or whatever you want to call it, ghost, is there, kind of had a thing for me. Was not my biggest fan. And there's a few things that happened during that investigation that caused alarm. Now, I don't know what is there. I don't think it's anything evil per se, most likely. You never know. I didn't get that feeling. That sense of dread did not come over me at that location. However, doing some sessions there that first night and actually interacting with something we believe with a ghost box and some EVP, sessions. And we did use that on the phone app, which, I hate the phone apps, but sometimes you get some interesting stuff. At least makes the investigation a little bit more interesting. I don't put a lot of faith in the responses you get on that particular phone app, just for mere fact you never know. Big Brother's watching and Big Brother's listening, especially through our phones. Are they just listening to us, reading our data, and kind of spitting out things? That is very possible, in my opinion. I'm not 100% sure on anything, but I don't put a lot of faith in it. However, while we were doing this session, we were doing just a standard ghost box session where we were getting some interesting responses, and we had this, I had a phone with that app running, and we were getting some weird, I will say this app, I forget the name of it. I don't even think I have it on my phone anymore. But this app does spit out things randomly, but kind of consistently. Now, when things started to heat up in this particular session, it really started going crazy. I mean, it was firing out freaking responses. And one response was my daughter's name. Well, I shouldn't say my daughter's name. My youngest daughter has a fairly interesting, not really, it's a common name, but not an overly common name. And people do kind of mispronounce it and say it in a different way. And what popped up was the way some people have said my daughter's name. It's spelled completely different. They throw an A in there when there's no A. And I kind of looked at it and I kind of nudged. Frankie was with me at the time and kind of nudged him and said, hey, look at that. Now, it didn't freak me out. Now, was it a coincidence? Very possibly, but how it, just the fact that it was the way some people say her name or pronounce it, just kind of like, okay, that's a little bit hitting a little close for home. And upon reviewing some evidence, Frankie reviewed some evidence. Whatever was interacting with us was not my biggest fan. It did not like me for some reason. Wasn't that I was provoking or going after it in any way, shape, or form, but it, it kind of said some, it seemed like it was not necessarily attacking me or verbally abusing me, but it made it known that I might not be his or her favorite person, which is, you're going to have that in an investigation. So, but getting back to the scratch story, and it kind of leads up into this. When I came home a day or two later, I noticed on my upper thigh, I had a scratch. Now, if I look at it now, it is finally gone as of last week. There was still, you can still see it a little bit. And that investigation was over a month ago. This is probably the longest lasting scratch I'd ever had, but it wasn't your traditional 3, which a lot of people believe, if you buy into Ghost Adventures and all them, that is a demonic scratch. I don't know. Like I said earlier, nobody truly really knows. We have an opinion. They say it's mocking the Holy Trinity, whatever. That's fine and dandy, but I'm not 100% sure that just because you get scratched, it does not mean it's a demon. And if it's in 3s, does not mean it's a demon. It just could be anything from you scratching yourself, not knowing it, or not realizing you got scratched, or it could be the way your skin interacts. When something interacts with you, it could just be a byproduct of that interaction. I don't know. Does it mean it's never something evil? Possible. I don't know. It's very possible it could be, but I don't think if you see scratches or scratches appear on your body at any point of your life or whatever, I don't think it necessarily means you're being attacked by a demon. It doesn't necessarily even mean you're being, a spirit is reaching out. It very well could be. I think you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. And this means if you do notice this, you need to open your eyes. You need to actually try to kind of figure out what's going on. Maybe, are some strange things happening in your residence or whatever, and kind of piece it together. And then if you feel there is something there, you might want to you need to interact. You need to investigate. You need to know what's going on. You just can't cower in fear just because something might be present in your home. You have to find out. Maybe it is something a little bit more evil. And if that is the case, if it starts happening more frequently, maybe you need to get help. You need to reach out. You need to find somebody, whether it be a spiritual leader or an investigation team, a paranormal investigating team per se. But you need to do something. If scratches appear and you have never had any kind of activity, you've never noticed any kind of activity, and you continue not to notice any activity, you probably just scratched your damn self. Or something happened and you just didn't realize it and you just noticed it later. There's no need to freak out and immediately think possession is right around the corner. Not necessarily the case. So you need to use common sense when something like this happens. Now, for everybody that has reached out and, told me their stories, I appreciate all of you for that. But do what I just talked about. If you are getting scratched, fairly common, perk up a little. Interact with something. Find out what's doing it. Do some. If you have to set up a camera at night, if it happens while you're sleeping, set up a camera at night and review the evidence. If scratches appear, go look at the video footage. That's the best way to do it. But be alert, be inquisitive. Try to find out what is behind it. Doesn't always mean it's supernatural. Doesn't mean it's always paranormal. So that is the best advice I will give. I'm sure I will continue to get these type of questions, and I appreciate it, and I want to hear your stories. But don't freak out. Don't immediately jump to a demon is trying to take over your body and drag your soul to hell. That is the exception, not the rule. Demonic activity is very rare. It's just because Zach Baggins and the boys think everything's a demon does not mean your house, because you hear a knock or you get a scratch, there's a demon roaming your hallways or trying to interact with you or trying to hurt you in any way. That is the exception, not the rule. Demonic activity is actually very rare. And I'm not even 100% sure I've ever had a demonic encounter. In some of my investigations that I've been on, sure, I've had some weird things happen. I've had some evil type responses on Ghostbox or on EVPs. I was talking to somebody the other day about, there's a podcast episode where I interviewed an exorcist. And on that recording, when I was interviewing him, as I was editing it, there was an EVP on that recording that sounded very evil. And it kind of shocked me a little bit. I even contacted him and said, hey, who was there? I know your wife was there, blah, blah, blah. And played it for him. I was like, there might be something going on. And if anybody would have an attachment or anybody would have a demon, strolling their hallways, would be an exorcist, because that is their job, to exorcise those demons from a person. And I would assume if demons are real and they are looking to actually possess the person, and if the person who does stop them from that, I'm sure there'd be some hard feelings, and they wouldn't like it very much, and they'd probably be pissed off and kind of attach themselves to that person. So I think that, like I said earlier, demonic activity is the exception, not the rule. It doesn't happen all that often. And just because, your keys get moved, or you're hearing footsteps at night, or you hear strange voices, does not mean you have a demon in your house. I'm not even 100% sold on demons in general. I think it's very possible evil spirits just might be evil humans that have passed on. If you're, like I said in another episode, if you're an asshole in life, you're probably going to be an asshole in the afterlife. So that could come across as demonic. So I don't know. Don't freak out. Bottom line, just don't freak out. If you get scratches or you get scratched or whatever, don't freak out. Check into it, investigate, keep your eyes open for activity. You might be experiencing activity and just not know it. And this might be the catalyst to actually get you aware, get you open to the supernatural or the paranormal things happening around you. So just find out, just investigate. And odds are, if I was a betting man, you got nothing to worry about. Now, if you are sitting there, you get scratched and you kind of are poking the bear a little bit and you hear get out, you might want to get your ass out. That could be something there. I don't know. But don't freak out until it's time to freak out. And if it comes to that, get help. Find a spiritual leader, find a priest, a minister, a pastor who has knowledge of this stuff, or reach out to a paranormal team. There are millions of paranormal teams out there. Do your research, find out, and get them in there and let them do a full-blown investigation. The best advice I could give. Now let's get into the fun stuff, DMT and realms and all that happy horse shit. Okay, My philosophy when it comes to what the spirit world is, I'm not sure if I've ever come out and rightly said exactly what I think. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. I can't remember everything I talk about on this freaking thing. Um, the spirit world, I think it's all around us. I think it's another realm per se. I think when we pass, we go to, whether you believe in heaven or hell, I believe we go to a different realm. And we can get into, and we might get into this down the road at some point. You know, I've kind of talked a little bit about, reincarnation a little bit, but I believe the spirit world is just on another level from we're down here. The spirit world's just all around us, but it's on a different dimension. And I think when we pass, that's where we go. I think our consciousness is in this other realm. And I think that is part of the reason why sometimes we can get this bleed through or the thinning of the veil, which is such a popular term. I think our consciousness is on that level and our brains are just the receiver of our consciousness. I do not believe our consciousness is generated and projected in between my ears or your ears or whomever's ears. I think the consciousness comes from someplace else, from that other dimension, from that other realm. And that is why some people believe that we all have special abilities. We all have a connection to this other realm. And that is why we do get that bleed through and why we can experience things, maybe hear some things that other people don't hear. Because I've been on investigations where I have heard something and nobody else heard it. Now, it does not necessarily mean I'm more open to the paranormal. It just might mean my connection to that other realm is is stronger than maybe that other person, or they weren't in tune. And at that moment, I was in tune with my surroundings a little bit more, and I picked up on that because that's frequent. There's a lot of times people hear things, they blatantly hear a voice or whatever, and nobody else hears it. Now, it doesn't mean it didn't happen. It doesn't mean they're crazy. It just means maybe they are at that moment connected to that dimension or that realm through their consciousness. And that makes sense to me. Now, there's a lot of people that believe that, what the hell is going on out there? DMT, a DMT trip I've, full disclosure, never done it. I've never done DMT, I've never done ayahuasca, I've never done acid, I've never done mushrooms. Okay? But I think there is something to these mind altering drugs that take you on that, trip essentially. Native Americans used hallucinogens all the time and to connect with the spirit world. That is what they believed. And I think they might, I'm not saying they're wrong. I think it's very plausible that when you take these type of drugs, it does change your brain chemistry. And I want to focus a little bit on DMT because I think with acid and mushrooms, I've heard of, everybody's trip is a little bit different from what I've heard, from what I've researched. People have some bad trips. There's no real coordination. There's no real consistency and commonality in those trips necessarily. DMT is a different issue from what I've researched. Like I said, I've never done it. Everybody kind of goes to the same place. They have the same or very similar experiences. And I think that is fascinating. Our body produces DMT, but I'm not a chemist by any stretch or a doctor, from what way I kind of understand it, our brain, or it's produced in our brain and muscles and things such as that, but we produce something else that kind of counters it a little bit so we don't get that trip. So if our brain produces it, maybe that is the connection to the other realm. That is the connection. That is this chemical or whatever it is, I guess, is what connects our consciousness in the other realm to our brain. And that enables the flow or transfer of experiences, transfer of the consciousness to our brain. And we project that out. But if you take, and what's, like I said, it's so interesting that everybody's trip is so similar. There's a lot of consistency in it. And that, tends to make me believe maybe that is when we get those higher DMT levels and we do essentially trip or whatever, you are getting to look into the other realm. You are getting to look into this, if you want to call it spirit world. I don't know. I don't think necessarily the spirit world is what we think it is. I think it's just another dimension that that's where we come from. That's where our consciousness is, and that's where our consciousness, since our consciousness is there, and I believe our consciousness is probably immortal. I'm not saying I believe in reincarnation. That's very possible as well. But I do think that our consciousness probably does not die in this other realm. We are just here. Some people believe we're just here to learn lessons. That's very possible as well. And when we die, we go to this. We go back to the other dimension, other realm. And DMT is our connection. Maybe. Now, it just, some doctors and some skeptics are going to say it just, it's a hallucinogen. It just causes you to hallucinate. Very possible. I mean, I'm not saying they're wrong. I don't know. Like I said, I have no freaking clue. I'm just throwing this out thinking that it'd be much cooler if that's the case. And it would explain the paranormal a little bit more. That's why we have such a strong connection. And it's kind of funny. People who take DMT they don't have it, or especially ayahuasca, they don't, it's almost like their fear of death dissipates. They don't have a fear of death, almost because like they've seen what's on the other side and they realize there's nothing to fear. Everybody to a certain extent fears death. You fear death. I'm not quite looking forward to it, even though as I get older, I realize I'm getting closer to it, so I better come to grips with it. But I don't want to do it. I don't want to pass. I don't want to go to the other side. It's a scary thing because we don't know. We fear what we don't know, and that is what death is. We don't know what's going on. But people who have taken DMT and ayahuasca kind of lose that fear of death. And even there's people that I've met that have had near-death experiences and have actually died. And they don't have a fear of death because they got a glimpse of what's on the other side. So does DMT actually, for lack of a better phrase, lift the veil between, they say worlds, but I'm going to say dimensions? I think it's possible. I mean, it's fascinating. Who knows? Maybe I'll give it a shot at one point. I don't know. I mean, for the sake of science, we'll go that route. So, I don't know. I hope somebody out there listening has used it, has had an experience with it. Be sure to let me know. Send me an email at gitnpodcast@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter at night_ghost. Send me a direct message. Be sure to, if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave me a comment. But really, Twitter, Facebook, at Ghost in the Night are the best ways to message me, or the email, honestly, is really the best way to message me. But if you've had that kind of experience, if you've experienced that world that those drugs give you, let me know. I'd love to hear your experiences. So like I said, email me, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, all that happy shit, and let me know your experience and what you think. Or if you think this is a bunch of bullshit, let me know that too. I don't know, but I think I'm definitely going to kind of research it a little bit more, maybe go into this a greater detail, because honestly, I'm ignorant in this topic. Just for a matter of fact, I've never done any of them. I'm pretty vanilla when it comes to that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a choir boy, but I've never done any kind of thing, any drug like that. My drug experience is very limited, to be honest with you. Don't do the hard shit. Stay away from that shit. Stay in school, kids. But I think it's fascinating. And if you, like I said, if you had that experience and you want to chime in, be sure to reach out to me. Who knows? Might even get you on the podcast and do an interview. But let me know what you think. Don't forget about the upcoming changes. Join me Sunday at 6 o'clock for my guest who's coming in, who's going to be a regular. We might as well go ahead and call him a co-host. And he will be here mostly, probably every Sunday at 6 o'clock to do the live stream recording of that week's episode, barring schedules. And who knows, he might even come out on a few investigations with me. And we'll have a good time there. Don't forget about the Patreon changes that are coming up. Hopefully by the end of today, definitely by tomorrow, I will have the new tiers, and we are going to go full bore with the Patreon, which I haven't done in the past. I've kind of half-assed it and just thrown it up and don't care. But I will work the tiers out. You will get bonus. Even at the bottom tier, you're still going to get access to that extra footage, or we'll call it the after party, podcast party. That's basically, I don't know, we'll have to come up with a good name for it. But you will get the episode, ad-free, commercial-free, all that happy stuff, and the after party, or whatever we decide to call it. You will get access to that at every tier. Then I'm going to throw some other things in there as the tiers go up a little. It's not going to be outrageous. Just a couple bucks. But look for that. Hopefully by tomorrow I'll have Patreon all worked out. And like I said, I've slacked on a lot. I don't even think all my episodes are back up on there. But we were going to get that up and running and get that going. Don't forget, I haven't looked at the merchandise website in a while. We're going to push that a lot more. I'm going to put out more paranormal merchandise. Hopefully they'll have some new stuff and we can get some cool stuff going there for your liking. I think it'll be cool. We're going full bore with the podcast now. I'm 100% invested. I apologize for the sporadic recordings here lately, but had a big life change, and then honestly kind of lost my love for it. But I think it's back. I think with my new with my buddy that's coming in, who's going to help out, who's going to give a different perspective, and we don't agree on everything. We've talked a lot, especially the past 2 weeks, about it, and we don't agree on everything. We have a commonality, but we don't agree with it. So be sure to be here Sunday at 6 o'clock, and it'll be on Facebook at Ghost in the Night, the Facebook page. Like I said, we may move that to YouTube at some point. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but no matter what, there will be at the bonus page on the Patreon page. Episodes, that episode that we record on Sunday will always be available Monday on the podcast feed. So if you listen, however you take in your podcast, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio, we're on just about all the major platforms. I think I actually, since I switched host, I might not be on as many as I used to be. I kind of got to go through that and make sure I'm, still on some of those smaller ones. But however you take it in, that will be available on Monday morning for you to listen to on your ride to work, or while you're at work when you should be working and you're just dicking off. So that will kind of be the schedule from now on. And then I might stop in, midweek and just do a short little, episode. I don't know how, maybe if I have an interview planned, we can't do it on the Sunday, I might do it through the week and just post it. We're going to work out the details, but it's going to be fun. I'm excited about the changes that are coming, and we are going to, I've even slacked off a lot on social media, but we are going to go full bore on social media. We want to make this thing grow, so be sure to like, subscribe, however you take in the podcast. Leave us a review, preferably a good one. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment, be interactive, send me emails. If you don't like something or you want something covered, let me know. I can't change anything if I don't know what you want. So I think it's going to be an awesome time here Sunday. I think I'm excited about the episodes coming up. So with that being said, I think that's going to wrap this episode up. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to my dumbass. And I appreciate it. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.